On the evening of January 13th, Yo Gotti and his brother Big Jook attended the funeral of a fallen family member, Eric Bovan. Little did they know though, they were a short couple hours away from their family and the streets of Memphis, forever changing when a major tragedy struck just miles away.
To Memphis rapper Yo Gotti. Fox 13's Lakia Scott joins us live tonight from St. Francis Hospital. That's where the victims were taken. Lakia, what were you able to find out? Good evening to you.
Good evening, Daniel. Well, at least 5 police sources have confirmed with Fox 13 that the person killed is Anthony Mims, also known as Big Jook. Now, Big Jook is the brother of rapper Yo Gotti. Now, we were at that scene earlier tonight. Police say 2 men were shot outside Perion's restaurant and event center around 4:15. Now, that's on Winchester near Kirby. According to the Memphis Police Department, the victim was inside a vehicle at the time and was brought here to St. Francis Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased.
Unfortunately, the life of Anthony Big Jook Mims was tragically ended in a hail of gunfire outside of a Memphis restaurant. Although he is gone, the question remains, how did something like this happen and why? It seems like the ongoing war in Memphis and the beef that took out young Dolph, the beef that got Hernandez Govan locked up, and the beef that got his daughter, Ladakash Desto murked, seems to be the beef that might be causing this ongoing cycle of violence. Things are so connected that Big Jook even has photos with Hernandez Govan, a man charged for orchestrating the death of young Dolph behind the scenes. The question remains, how does this never-ending cycle go on? Man, we gotta talk about the beef that took out Big Jook, a Memphis legend, the CEO of CMG, the brother of Yo Gotti, right now. But before we do, I'm gonna need you to do something for me. Like, comment, subscribe. We finna run up this video, man. Make sure y'all check out the merch link in the description at staysafeworld.com. Hit that notification bell so whenever I post, y'all tuned in right away, man. We finna run this up, roll to 100K subscribers by the end of this year. If we don't hit that, I swear on everything I'm offing myself. Man, so you know what we gotta do. Let's get into this right now. Chapter 1. Assassination at a repast. By now, you should know the infamous last few hours of Big Jook's life that ultimately resulted in him getting assassinated in a broad daylight situation. But what if I told you there was more to what happened that day than what meets the eye? That day started out like many other days in a gun violence fueled city like Memphis. A close family member of Big Jook, his uncle Eric Bovan, was being laid to rest by the family, so everyone was in attendance. From Yo Gotti, his mother, his girl, and even his brother. Footage has since come out of the funeral, displaying a wide range of Memphis icons taking their turns, showing love to the deceased. But with that high profile of a funeral, there's no doubt that the ops had the location on lock as well. Shortly after the funeral viewing took place, it seems that Yo Gotti apparently left the premises immediately, not taking any time to go out and about in the city. He apparently left with a huge security detail, which showed just how dangerous the city was at this point. At the same time, his mother and brother, Jook, decided to stay with the family and do the repast, an event/dinner place called Perignon. You see, that was his grave mistake. Either the ops were lurking and someone was at the restaurant alerted who was there, or they saw the funeral was happening and decided to wait and watch. Because what happened next sounded like a complete suicide mission that somehow went just as planned. At around 4:15 p.m., an officer was in the area of 6385 Westchester Road when he heard multiple gunshots. He proceeded to where he heard the gunshots and found 2 victims with multiple gunshot wounds, which were transported to St. Francis Hospital immediately, where victim Anthony Mims was pronounced dead. Police said there's video of that incident that they're analyzing, but they do not have a clear suspect identified at this time. They also said that 2 men who were shot were attending a repast or a meal shared by a family and friends after a funeral service. Police said they could tell by the video footage that they saw someone. There's even footage showing the getaway car that was like a white Ford Explorer with no tags. There's been so many deaths within the Memphis area in the music industry, but it really seems that this is one of the most shocking since the death of young Dolph several years ago. This was really like a high profile incident that no one would have really expected, you know. This is the CEO of CMG, one of the biggest labels in rap right now, you know, with some of the biggest artists in rap right now, and the brother of one of the biggest figures in rap music, especially in Memphis. And nothing has really happened like this since the death of young Dolph. Just in 2021, man. But it seems like there's an ongoing situation that could have something to do with this, that has been spanning for almost a decade now, that could be the reason behind this, man. So we're gonna get into the origins of the beef that could have caused this. Chapter 2. With the death of young Dolph in everyone's memory, and a number of other people who were caught up in the crossfire, this incident has a number of people pointing fingers and stating that it has to do with a beef with PRE that caused this. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was a revelation that Grove Hero, a close collaborator with young Dolph, had over a year ago in a now viral IG Live.
I couldn't hear that, bro. That shit down put tears in my eyes, bro. When I heard that little boy Trey say, man, I miss my dad, mom. When I heard that up, bro. That shit fucked up. And keep in mind, I said, if I see Jook, if I see GOTTI, if I see Migo, or if I see Youngster, I'ma get on that ass. This shit ain't got nothing to do with nobody else, bro. I said if I see them folk, because these folk had something to do with it, bro. These folk don't know that Jook put a hit out, bro. Nigga know this shit. You know what I'm saying? But nah, all that, bro. I need to say that. You don't say that. I ain't gonna tell the truth, bro.
In the IG Live, Grove Hero is reacting to a now infamous situation in Memphis airport where he ran into Lil Migo, a member of CMG who was recently signed, and they got into a brief scuffle. Yeah, it was all fun and games because, you know, Grove Hero has a weird wonky hand, and like slapped him with his weird hand and something like that. But on his live, he has a serious note where he states that his reasoning behind this is he felt that GOTTI, Jook, Lil Migo, and the whole CMG had something to do with Dolph's shooting. He even went as far to say that Big Jook put 40K on Dolph's head, allegedly. On top of the fact, now infamous video has basically come out showing Big Jook essentially clowning young Dolph after young Dolph had died. It was basically making fun of the whole situation. But to understand how we even got to that point where people are trying to put clues together, you know, we gotta go all the way to the jump to explain how things got this bad, man. And it all starts almost a decade ago. Recent years, Memphis' brightest rap star had been Yo Gotti back in the day, and around 2014 he basically emerged as a popular figure in rap with singles like I Know and his smash hit Down in the DM, both upping the formerly independent hustler's profile. Yo Gotti might be the most established Memphis artist to emerge this decade. He has found a bit of competition in the form of young Dolph, Chicago-born, Memphis-raised rapper who's also been making major noise on his own. Launching PRE, aka Paper Route Empire, in 2008, young Dolph began making waves with his high-class street music mixtape series, leading to collaborative projects with Gucci Mane and Pee Wee Longway. Enjoying a breakout year in 2015, by the end of the year, Dolph, whom Gotti had once attempted to sign to CMG, was beginning to build a buzz in his city, and Yo Gotti was feeling some type of way, which would create a rift between both of them. It all kind of starts in 2014, when, following the release of his mixtape High Class Street Music for American Gangster, young Dolph would make an appearance on Sway in the Morning to discuss the project. During the interview, Dolph would touch on his decision not to sign a record deal with Yo Gotti, explaining that he would rather see his own investment in himself rather than latch on to other artists' movement. This is actually kind of what, you know, Yo Gotti did in the first place, but Dolph was sort of planting the seeds for PRE to be an independent powerhouse that it is today. Dolph would later point to Yo Gotti taking offense to Dolph's decision as the root of their beef, although Gotti has never confirmed that notion and has basically not really spoken out about it. The friction between young Dolph and Yo Gotti became apparent on February 11, 2016, when Dolph sent subliminal shots at his Memphis counterpart. Using Twitter to let his feelings be known, Dolph alleged that Yo Gotti wasn't fond of his growing success, tweeting, "Bruh went from being my #1 fan and wanting to sign me to being my biggest hater," in reference to Gotti's failed attempt to ink Dolph to his CMG label. Despite Dolph not mentioning Gotti by name, it was clear who Dolph's words was about, and would set off a chain of events that would result in the beef escalating quickly. Young Dolph and Gotti beef began to take a turn for the worse on March 2nd, 2017, when Gotti CMG artist Black Youngster posted a clip on his Instagram disparaging Dolph and questioning his claim to being king of Memphis. He says, "Dolph, you a bitch. You a soft ass. If you got a problem, say you got a problem," says Youngster in a video, which has since been removed from his Instagram account. He then went on to further diss Dolph, calling him, all types of words and saying he's not even from the city. Black Youngster went even crazier, showed up to young Dolph's neighborhood and captured the scene on video. Black Youngster and his crew took a stroll through South Memphis Castalia neighborhood on the hunt for young Dolph while armed with heavy guns. Although Black Youngster and company would not run into Dolph, the cliff was enough to know that there was a particular beef that was getting crazy. In 2017, things took a turn for the absolute worst. Young Dolph dropped a bomb in the form of Play With Your Bitch, a diss track levied against GOTTI. In addition to vicious broadsides like I don't know how gangsters that beef with dykes, alluding to having relations with the mother of GOTTI's child, Dolph also paints his nemesis as a hater. Released in promotion of Dolph's Gelato mixtape, Play With Your Bitch continues the beef between him and GOTTI. Building on this momentum though, Dolph doubled down on his attack on GOTTI and unveiled a music video to further poke fun at the CMG boss. Casting a Yo Gotti lookalike in the visual, Dolph would make a mockery of his enemy without an ounce of remorse. Unfortunately, in this same year 2017, things took a much darker turn when it was reported that young Dolph was the target of a shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina, in which over 100 rounds were fired at his vehicle. Fortunately, Dolph was unscathed due to an SUV that he was riding in being bulletproof, but the incident did little to faze the Memphis rapper. He hit the stage at a local venue later that night where he performed the Yo Gotti diss track, a sign that seemed that the message in relation to the beef with Yo Gotti was not a deterrent in any fashion. He would release his infamous song 100 Shots that same year. Just later that year, he basically said that the beef was done. But then things got a lot worse in September of that year. Basically a couple months after declaring his beef with Yo Gotti as old news broke out that Dolph was a victim of a shooting in Hollywood and was rushed to the hospital. While details were scarce, it was reported that Dolph was outside of Shoe Palace near the intersection of Hollywood and Highland at the time of his shooting. Hours after reports of young Dolph being shot in Hollywood, news broke out that Yo Gotti was named a person of interest by the LAPD. Sources say Gotti and young Dolph were both staying at the Lowe's Hotel at the time of the shooting, and members of both entourages got into an argument that escalated into a fist fight, which ended in gunfire, leaving Dolph wounded. A day after the news broke out that young Dolph was shot, LAPD announced that an associate of Yo Gotti was charged with attempted murder in connection of the incident. According to Detective Megan Aguilar, a spokesperson for the LAPD, Corey McClellan, a member of Yo Gotti's entourage, was arrested that day after the shooting and held a $1 million bail. At the time of McClellan's arrest, LAPD were still looking for two other men believed to be involved with the fight with young Dolph that could possibly be connected to the shooting. After being arrested on suspicion of attempted murder the day prior in connection to the young Dolph shooting, Yo Gotti's associate Corey McClellan was released without charges. Law enforcement have yet to find any other arrests in the connection of the investigation. Although Dolph survived those two attempts in his life, he wasn't so lucky when a third and final incident took place. On November 17th, 2021, it seemed like young Dolph's luck ran out when he was gunned down in a now infamous scenario that took place at Makeda's Homemade Butter Cookies on Airways Boulevard. Two masked gunmen emerged and shot through the windows, hitting the rapper multiple times while he was leaving. However, shortly after this incident, it's actually the most important part of the beef that seems to paint a picture that is almost undeniable. Shortly after Dolph's shooting, multiple suspects were identified from people connecting the dots, as well as posts on social media. Rising rapper Straight Drop was the first to get caught alongside his co-conspirator. However, one man who was charged and was in the background of this incident would end up getting charged for the shooting with close ties to Yo Gotti and his brother Big Jook. Hernandez Govan, the father of Lotta Cash Desto, was arrested and charged with being the ringleader behind this slaying. Crazy to know that he has pictures posted up with Big Jook at Yo Gotti's restaurant Privé. It was known to have close ties. However, he did not get out of this unscathed, because on September 24th, 2022, tragedy struck again when his daughter, a rising rapper, actually signed to Lil Uzi, was also gunned down in the middle of the night in Houston, Texas. On top of the fact that the head leader of Trula Mafia, who was tapped in with Straight Drop, one of the head people in a rival gang with young Dolph, was also gunned down just last year. The endless cycle of violence in Memphis looks like it's not ending anytime soon, and you're not going to believe how this all culminates together, and we're going to talk about it in the next chapter, The Enemy of My Enemy. So by now, you basically realize that there's a web of people involved in this incident, And just because all these things could be coincidences and people getting shot, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to do with PRE. Because if Yo Gotti has beef with PRE, chances are he most likely has beef with someone else in the city of Memphis. Because people seem to just hate people, you know? It's not really known if there's a strong connection between True Love Mafia and CMG right now, but it definitely is not a good look that dudes are dropping left and right that all had something to do with the Young Dolph scenario, man. It's crazy how everything is tied in, like Straight Drop, the dude that is actually charged and currently in jail for the Young Dolph shooting. He is actually once was a close associate of Key Glock, but you know, have since fallen out, and then everything went down. On top of the fact that, how we said before, Hernandez Govan, close associate of Yo Gotti and Big Jook, to the fact that they literally have pictures in his restaurant and he's charged with orchestrating this. It really has fans really wondering, did Yo Gotti have a role in Young Dolph's death, and is that the reason that Big Jook essentially got taken out? People basically saying that Yo Gotti's not just gonna crash out, you know, and go about his life and go and try to take out Dolph himself. If he were to do it, allegedly, he would most likely find a middleman who would then go most likely find someone else to find someone else. So there's plausible deniability. It's like what presidents and stuff do, and like CEOs and stuff do. They never want to get their hands dirty, so they have people do it for them. And the plausible deniability is in the fact that there's a chain of command. So ultimately, someone else is going to take the fall. And the dude that paid the guy that actually goes does it is actually far removed from the CEO of CMG, in theory. Could have been that. At the same time, Big Jook could have just had inner beef within the city. People that were way closer than PRE that just knew about this whole scenario. And he could have been doing craziness in the streets himself. Honestly, we're not really going to know unless more information comes out from the police. But just following the trail of bodies and the trail of blood, it really has you seeing things from a different picture. None of this has really been solved. Besides the fact that they found the, lower members that took out Young Dolph, they never have been able to find who exactly paid for this hit. Obviously there was money on his head, because the way that they did this hit was definitely kind of professional. Besides the things that they did after, they kind of crashed out after that, dropping songs about it, not getting rid of the getaway vehicle and just leaving it somewhere and leaving evidence inside was total crash out mentality. However, when you look at this situation with Yo Gotti's brother, Big Jook, pretty much seems like the whole incident was well planned and they were pretty much professionals. Yeah, they got pictures of the car, but they took off all the license plates. That car's probably long gone right now, most likely burnt. If it's not, I guarantee the police are about to find some type of evidence because they got all this on video. It was honestly crazy to go about this in broad daylight and think that you're going to be good unscathed. But maybe, just maybe, it could have been, we don't really know. Obviously, Memphis is one of the most dangerous cities in the US, and with that dangerous vibe comes the lack of accountability from police, where they can't solve all the murders that go down. But when there's high profile murders in the rap world, the police actually start using their resources to their benefit, because at the end of the day, it looks way better for police forces to solve these type of crimes because they're all over the news. Yeah, these unknown people might go unkilled and stuff like that and get no recognition. They never find the murderer and stuff like that. However, in these scenarios, the police have a job to try to, make the public see that they're actually trying to do their job. So they're going to try their hardest to try to solve this. Obviously, not a lot of people are going to, communicate and probably aren't going to give information to the police, which is going to make this even harder. But based off all the evidence, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look at what happened with the Young Dolph case. I wouldn't be surprised if someone has something to do with this, man. But hey, let me know in the comments what y'all think about this whole scenario. Let me know in the comments if you think this is tied in together, or you think this is just a bunch of random, coincidences that could have just occurred in Memphis, one of the most dangerous cities in the US, man. But hey, let me know in the comments what y'all think. Real stay shit. You already know what's going on, man. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 100K subscribers. Make sure y'all tap in, man. Peace.